Worship with a moment of quiet to be followed by today's prelude online by Jagannath. The piece is Spiegel in Spiegel by Arvo Part.
Good morning, everyone. I'm usually virtual. My name's Michael Bradley. I am the chalice lighter today. Across the Distance by Laura Thompson. Across the distance, the light from the within me shines, sending love to all across the distance. Light is fueled that it warm me and help to keep my own light burning. Together we keep the flame community burning bright. Thank you.
Elizabeth is online, if you guys can find her. No, she's also the opening words. There we go. Oh, we do, never mind. One of the things about this new system here, where we are trying to include everybody in and out, is this is the first time there will be mistakes. Thank you very much. Is that what's next? No, actually, the first thing is the opening hymn. Thank you.
Here are the opening words. This is the true joy in life, being used for a purpose recognized by yourself as a mighty one, being a force of nature instead of a feverish, selfish little clod of ailments and grievances, complaining that the world will not devote itself to make you happy. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die. For the harder I work, it is my privilege to do for it what I can. I rejoice in life for its own sake. Life is no brief candle to me. It is a sort of splendid torch which I have got hold of for the moment, and I want to make it burn as brightly as possible before handing it on to future generations. George Bernard Shaw.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, a congregation of love, hope, and justice, inspiring people to take on the challenges of a changing world. My name is Vicki Cox-Lanyon, and I'm one of your worship associates this morning. We begin by acknowledging that in Worcester, Massachusetts, we work, learn, live, and worship on the seized ancestral homeland of the Nipmuc people, who survive and remain active as the Nipmuc Nation. We offer a special welcome to those of you who are new or visiting with us for the first time this morning. We're delighted that you're here. We hope you'll join us in Fellowship Hall following the service for refreshments and conversation. If you have questions or desire more information about this service or any of the ministries or programs of this congregation, please don't hesitate to ask. We invite you to fill out one of the cards found in the pews. These cards can be placed in the offertory plate or given to one of the ushers or greeters. For those of you joining online this morning, we offer you a very special welcome for safety purposes and so that we might come to know you better. As you're able, please place your name on your video feed. As you'll discover, many parts of today's service are being brought to us by our online participants, and we thank them for that. Please take a moment to sign one of the attendance clipboards that are being circulated. You're not obligated to sign, but we appreciate your information and will use it only for church purposes. During the service, we offer an opportunity to share a brief personal joy or sorrow. If you'd like yours to be read aloud, please print it on an index card in the pew and drop it in the collection plate when it comes around. These cards will be available after the service. For those online, you can place a joy or sorrow in the chat, but we invite you to also share your joy and sorrow yourself in real time. In the foyer are listening devices and large print service programs and hymnals for those who may find their assistance beneficial. One of the ushers will be pleased to assist you. I invite you now to turn your technology to worship mode. And finally, please note the announcements on the back of our program. We're so glad you're here and hope that this morning is an opportunity for rest, reflection, and rejuvenation. And now it's time for our Change for Change collection. So we welcome our children to grab their baskets and collect your extra change, which is supporting the minister's emergency fund.
Good morning. My name is Matt Bajun. The following reading, entitled Room for Grief, for Relief, for Misery, for Joy, is written by Melinda Stewart, Master of Social Work. And I noticed that Melinda Stewart is actually here on the Zoom call today. Martin Luther King writes, "Alienation is a form of living death. It is the acid of despair that dissolves society." That is from his work, The Trumpet of Conscience in 1967. Melinda Stewart continues, "It is no secret that our entire nation, and perhaps the entire world, is suffering from an epidemic of loneliness and disconnection. The COVID-19 pandemic, with its attendant isolation and losses, has amplified an already brewing crisis into a national emergency. In the New York Times Sunday, April 30th edition, Vivek H. Murthy, U.S. Surgeon General, writes about his three-point plan to attack the problem nationwide. First, we must strengthen social infrastructure, the programs, policies, and structures that aid the development of healthy relationships. Second, we have to renegotiate our relationship with technology, creating space in our lives without our devices so we can be more present with one another. I, for one, I'm very happy to be using technology at this very moment to join you today. So perhaps there's also the understanding of negotiating and renegotiating with technology. Finally, we have to take steps in our personal lives to rebuild our connection to one another, and small steps can make a big difference. Various pundits, bloggers, podcasters, and journalists have weighed in on the subject, each with their own spin, but none that I have encountered have disagreed with Murthy's basic premises. Life is hard for most. We as a people are wounded, scared, and confounded about how to rebuild our lives. The fabric of our world is profoundly changed. The assumptions we had about our futures and those of our children are perhaps no longer true, no pathways reliable. Global economic crisis, political instability, and the increasingly visible effects of global warming have further obfuscated the future, especially for the young who have been deprived of crucial years of social development that cannot be reclaimed." Thank you for the words from Melinda Stewart.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. My name is Linika Ashraf, CEO Mat Compassion Africa. I'm age 27. I'm a Ugandan by nationality. I'm staying somewhere, but not hitting that much, but I'm staying somewhere. I like rice with chicken soup. Some people used to call me fatty because I was fat, I like music. I'm a sportsman. Surely I love sports. What makes me happy is being around people I love and making other people happy. See someone suffering, when one can come to rescue that person. I joined Mad Compassion from the start. When you see Might Compassion as a big NGO. All in all, I thank God because I'm here, and I send my greetings to everyone out there. Just spread love, because love is all that we share. May the Almighty bless you. Mad Compassion Africa.
Who lives in Kampala, Uganda. Some time ago, actually 8 years ago, I spent a month in Uganda, in Kampala, and Ashraf was one of my students. I was teaching about social enterprise, teaching about social businesses and that kind of thing, and he was quite honestly one of my best students. We had an opportunity to talk, even at one point with my class at Worcester State, and it was very interesting to see the class from Stawa University, where he attended, and the class from Worcester State interact. And it was quite lovely. When I came back to the United States, certain friendships endured. And Ashraf was one of the friends with whom I maintained communication in different ways. But among the ways that I want to talk about today is that when COVID hit, it hit not only in the United States, it also hit in Uganda. And the words that I was getting was that there was a lockdown in Uganda. And I had been helping Ashraf and another friend with business, and I wondered, well, what is happening in terms of them? If people are not able to come to businesses, if people are not able to buy, what's happening? The hunger probably has to be a big thing. So I sent a small amount of money to Ashraf and to another person. And it was $100, which in the United States is not that much. And I basically said, please use this to help take care of your family. And both of the people that I sent it to talked not only about helping their family, but also reaching out to neighbors and kind of the people who really needed help. And it happened that Ashraf was, when I talked with him about it, you could tell that he really enjoyed doing that was something that gave him a fair amount of pleasure. And his birthday was coming up, and I sent him another $100. And I said, use it however you want. No constraints, whatever. I didn't say use it for yourself, put it in the bank, or use it for the bit. I just said basically use it however you want. And Ashraf that day, or that next day, went out with 6 of his friends, and they went to a place where they could buy bulk food. And they bought beans and rice and sugar, and there's a couple of things that are kind of uniquely Ugandan staples that they bought, and oil. And they bought a lot of food, and these 6 young men divided the food that they had bought into 10 packages, if you will, that would feed a family of about, that would feed a family for a few weeks. And so they went to a local, they call them slums. They went to a local slum and talked with the leader of the slum about who would be the best people to receive this. And they found 10 families that were, living on the edge, hungry, not enough food, including one family that was made up of 4 kids. There was a young child of about 5 years old who was actually cooking for his family, which was quite amazing. And they sent me back pictures of all of these people they had helped. And I shared those with some people, and some other people started sending money as well. Said, could you do that too? Could you make sure that this went on? And so Map Compassion Africa began, if you will, with Ashraf, who and his friends. He's a very charismatic young man and a wonderful soccer player, by the way, who basically got into helping other people. And as time has gone on from that point, they've helped with paying school tuitions for people. They've helped with feeding people. They've helped with trying to get to the bottom of some of the issues in Ugandan society, the place of women and child bride issues. They have a program called Girl Voice. They work with helping people develop their musical skills, develop their sports skills, and they've been focusing mainly on young people to kind of change things. And so, the thing that I'm not saying is that Ashraf, with the advent of COVID and with us going online, has become kind of a regular attender of this church, which is also kind of an interesting thing. So he and I continue to be in touch in various ways. What you're going to see as the offertory is a special expedition that Map Compassion Africa took to a place called Gulu. Gulu is at the northern boundary of Uganda, and there's a very small village that suffered from extreme poverty as a result of war and just the basic conditions. And they brought food, they brought clothing, they brought shoes and other things. And so it's a 50-50 weekend. If you donate 50% of what you put in will go to Map Compassion Africa. So Aaron would always say, reach into the pocket of the person next to you, get their checkbook and write whatever you would like to write. But thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. I have fallen in love with Ashraf over the last 3 years online. He came on Facebook when we were in the tent. I was surprised, and we have become very good pen pals, and I have had a view of Uganda I had never had any other way. So I want to thank him. He had to send all his stuff in. Stop that. Thank you. What is that? You fix it? Okay. One of the things about having MS is that I can't think in a straight line anymore. So give me a second till I find where I was. Okay. Ashraf had to send his things in because he actually comes in from Uganda, and we couldn't count on the internet for him to be able to speak for himself here. So I appreciate the fact that those videos existed. We have now come to the time in our service where we share those things that are most deeply on our heart, whether they be a joy or a sorrow or something that just has to be said. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but it had to be said. For the first time in a very, very long time, folks who are online on Zoom, who have a joy or a sorrow and wish to speak it themselves, will have an opportunity to. If you are one of our Facebook people, Facebook does not allow that. You will need to type your joy or sorrow into the chat. And you have to start now because there is a couple of minute delay. So by the time you get it typed, we might be on to the next part of the service, so start typing now. Can you tell I do Facebook moderation? If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share with our community, please take a place on the left or the right, or if you are on Zoom, turn on your video and raise your hand. Are there any joys and sorrows to be shared? And I'm going to just stand here and point. We'll start with you.
Is this on? My name is Jessie, and I have a great joy to share. Last weekend was the pancake breakfast for the organization that I am a member of, Overlook Farm, and it was such a great joy to see so many UUCW folk come out and support either at the event or in our silent auction. It was just wonderful to see those two worlds combine. My daughter Alma volunteered of her own accord to help me in the kitchen serving pancakes, which was also a great joy. And the event raised about $4,500 for the farm, which is very exciting and will go a long way to maintaining this as a really wonderful program to come. And one of the other really cool parts of that was at the end of the event, our executive director, Jamie, who'd been walking around talking with people, came up to me and she said, "Jessie, everyone from your church is so cool." I was like, I know. So it was just really great to have those two pieces of my life that I love so much come together on such a beautiful day at the farm. So hoping there's many more in the years to come.
Paul?
Good morning. Last week, I had Mara Pentla's birthday was like a little bit before last week, and I didn't have a present, but I did have tickets to see the organist play at the Hanover Theater and watched a couple of Charlie Chaplin movies. And this is a joy, by the way. The thing was that so I was showing her the organ because she says, there's no organ there. It's down, it comes up. So what happened was that the organ came up. I showed him when he came back to the seat, there was this person sitting aside of us. And I said, hello, and I'm so-and-so. And he said, my name is Charles. I forgot the last name. He's the one who donated the organ to that church. I mean, to the Hanover. And he's been involved with the restoration. And, but it was a very good movie. And it's interesting to see back in the 30s, how the comedy, I mean, it's timeless. And it was really a fun thing to watch. The other joy that I had was last week, I was doing the, what do you call it there, the coffee hour out of the men's group. Craig Van Battenberg brought some donuts, and I got some stuff too. But the thing is, this little girl comes up to me and says, could I get a fork? Okay, so I reached in the thing and got a fork. And I noticed that the fork, it looked like a piece of dirt, but it was actually an indentation of what, markings on the fork, like, a pattern. And I took it back and said, this looks dirty. Okay? So I got her another fork and, gave it to her. And she said, thank you, you were very nice. And then she gave me a hug. I said, And after watching the movie Otto with Tom Hanks, if you get a chance to see that, I just melted. Yeah.
Online with Elizabeth O'Callaghan.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth O'Callaghan. I wanted to share just a joy and gratitude to say thank you for including me, helping me feel included in this congregation, and helping, and also I think for technology, giving us the opportunity. I'm very grateful for people like members of this community, as well as really just a little bit about me, just my job, being able to, people at my work being able to allow me to continue to work. I'm a BCBA and an LMHC by training, and I work in residential group homes, and being able to be accommodated so that I could still attend meetings safely. You may not know that the rates of COVID and other transmissible diseases tend to be higher in congregate care. We work really hard to keep our folks safe, and in times we've certainly experienced higher rates of our folks being isolated, not just people like me, but our individuals who live in those homes. And so technology has allowed not just me to be able to participate and provide them with services, but also for them to be able to access services. So I guess today we're grateful for technology. I'm diagnosed with ankylosing spondylitis. I'm attached to my TENS unit here that's allowing me to sit up in this chair and attend with all of you. And so I guess that's another piece of technology to be grateful for. But I thought today was a good day to say hello and share my gratitude to be included, because this is certainly above and beyond anything I'd ever expect from something that's a largely in-person community. So thank you to you all for welcoming me here.
Would you light a candle for that, please? Just thank you.
Hello again. I'm Michael Bradley. I light a candle for my mother. Her cancer's getting worse. But I do have a joy that I'm going camping with the whole family on a Memorial Day weekend. So I haven't gone camping in years. So, but my mom is trying to come as well. So, but she has a chemo treatment the day before, so it's like we're iffy on if she wants to come or not. But otherwise, I'm here. Thank you, everyone, for being good, supportive friends and community. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Joe Revo, and it's been a couple of few weeks I've haven't been able to make it because of weather situations and also family situations, being that my son Andrew and his significant other Ava have birthed twins on Friday. They were C-sectioned. Alana Maya and Amelia May were delivered Friday. So Andrew and Ava, Alana and Amelia, along with Adrian, are all doing well. All right. Now, this now brings the grandchildren to 4 boys, 4 girls. There's an auxiliary child so that's 9. I now have a baseball team. Thank you so much. None of my blood, all my DNA. Okay? Adopted children, adopted family. Yes, less than privileged. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Alfredo Villela. My joy is that my son, Daniel Villela, he just walked yesterday. Yeah, thank you. He's 17. He's going to URI as a dual major in classical guitar and microbiology, and he has a lot of other likes. So I'm very, it was a beautiful ceremony, and thanks that I was able to witness this. The sorrow is that I don't know if you know that school is a really great school called Eagle Hill School in Harwick. The director, very, very fine doctor, Dr. McDonald, suddenly deceased last week. So in the middle of this graduation, there was sorrow too. And I want to share that we're all gonna miss him very much. And so it's like as always, life is joy and there's sorrow, but everything is, it's the way that it's supposed to be. So, and thank you for the congregation. I have been away a little bit because I've been very busy, but I love you so much.
I have a joy to share from the UUCW women of Kennebunk who are online with us. And they say, the UCW women in Kennebunk are so glad that technology allows us to join you today. I cried when I heard that Matt's Ugandan friend joins us.
Take your time. Take your time. I'm going to talk while you're walking. Is that okay? I have a joy to share. And it's a personal joy. I thank the tech team. They came they came specially yesterday to redo our slides and work with me to make this happen above and beyond, and I thank them. Without the tech team, I would not be able to be with you.
Hi, I'm Susan. First, I have to comment on how fun it is to have a wife, husband, IT thing, because what's going on? Why did that happen? No offense, Cheryl, I just had to. It was so much fun. Anyway, so I'm kind of here channeling Aaron possibly. But anyway, yesterday was Bob Whitney's memorial service. And just like Bob Whitney, it went on probably an hour and 20 minutes longer than any memorial service I've ever been at. But it was great. It did. So I really have a heartfelt gratitude to the people who came and helped. And I thought, oh, I can't name them because of course I'll leave somebody out. But I really have to do a shout out to Nancy Hancock, who manned the ovens. And we had all this food that had to be heated up. And Nancy, thank you. But I mean, it's thank you to everyone. And then I was gonna go, and you know who you are, you know. So yes, thank you to those who came. And it was a beautiful memorial. What? Oh, no. But anyway, it was fun. It was the way it should be. I just really enjoyed it. So thank you, guys. Thank you, thank you.
Are there any other joys or sorrows? I know that we have many that have not been said. Let us be in the spirit of prayer. Source of all good, of all hope, of all accommodations, of all the gifts that we get, be they technological, compassionate, or simply out of the friendship of a lifetime. We are blessed. Hold in our hearts all those who have not been able to speak, those who are silenced, and those who choose silence. We are all one. Help us to remember that. Amen.
I'm going to take this over to the piano and both sing and play. Before I did that, I wanted to mention the song that I'm going to play is a song written by a fellow named Peter Mayer. If that name sounds familiar, he's a composer, singer, kind of a folk singer, but he's also in our book on the Blue Boat Home. Very lovely piece. And he, this week on the 17th, put out a song called Sacred Song. And as we were talking about it, I shared it with Cheryl, and the piece that inspired the song was a piece that was read this morning, the piece by George Bernard Shaw. And so I'll do my best with this morning. No, not a headset, thanks. Life's not a note at all. Life is the whole old song that placed long before me and will after I'm gone. Life is no match flame. Life is a great place. The fire ahead may and a million you and me. So while I have my light, I'll carry that torchlight and hold it way up high through every dark night. I will take my turn, keeping that flame burn and seeing it delivered to the next in line. This is my true joy, to use my one voice and with all life joy in that sacred song with every step swaying, and wherever I can bring another alone. And from that fire I'll take a bright spark to give to a passerby with a hopeless heart, a bright spark of courage to live for and service, to kindle a purpose for the heart to find. This is my true joy, to live, use my one voice, and never will life joy, that sacred song, with every step sing, whenever I can bring another along. And by the time I'm done, I want to be used up, just a vibration in that sacred song, and say that I have lived and gave what I could give, keeping it strong. I want to live life like it's a torchlight, hold it way up high through every dark night. I want to take my turn, keeping that flame burning and seeing delivered to the next in line.
Okay. Made it to the sermon. I'm so excited. I could just fall over. People may be wondering where the title "Being Disabled" comes from. First of all, I did not invent it. This book was given to me as a gift. It's by a man named Sam Gordon, who has had a whole lot of head injuries. And everything was fine for a long time. He was a football player, I think. And he was doing great, and everybody loved him, and then suddenly his brain didn't work right. And he became disabled. He also found out that he loves to quilt. Now, I don't think anybody in this congregation quilts, right? It's a big deal. Everybody around here seems to quilt. In honor of that, I wore my quilted stole. Also because I couldn't figure out what went with this outfit. He starts at the very beginning and says, I have a disability. I also have this ability. And he goes through a whole bunch of different abilities he has. And in reading this book and going through his story, I realized that in spite of the fact that I had to retire whether I wanted to or not because I had become disabled, I had a whole bunch of abilities. And one is the gift that Aaron gave me, even though at first I didn't realize that's what it was, of becoming the moderator for Facebook and our online minister. I do it totally from my soul. This is not something that we have to have, and if I didn't have Sunise at my side through this whole thing, she is currently moderating Facebook right this minute, so I can be here. So shout out for Sunise. I am disabled. Coming with being disabled is disempowerment. It is being dissed. I have a disability. It is multiple sclerosis. And currently, how many people here watch Star Wars stuff? Oh, good, at least one person will know what I'm talking about. Who has seen The Mandalorian? This is the way. I cannot take this off. I have taken a medication that got rid of my B cells and T cells, and I am waiting to catch any little germ of any kind if you come near me. So I'm hiding from you. This is the way. But that has also meant that I have been online. Do you realize that I traveled last year with my husband, probably half of the year? I only missed one service. And that's because we were in the Arctic Circle and I couldn't get it. I am always online if I am not here. I love this community. One of the things I discovered doing that, it's incredibly lonely when your friends are up here hugging each other and the best you can do is move the cat out of the way. It's lonely to be online, and every step we take to include those folks who can only join us in that way is a gift beyond compare. One day, now, okay, let me back up a little bit. Like I said, with MS, you don't think linearly, even when you write it down, apparently. For years, I have worked on UU disability accessibility committees. Literally 26 years or more. And when I first started doing this, I had not yet gotten my diagnosis. I thought I had something else, and I was wearing really dark glasses all the time. I was visible. My disability was visible. Everybody assumed I was blind. I had optical neuritis, but we didn't know that. It was part of the MS, but we didn't know that. So everybody was giving me all kinds of, oh, it's okay, let me help you. Once I got my final fellowship, I had really struggled to get that. It took me 12 years to get it, which is the absolute longest length you can go. Part of it is because I kept losing my job. I kept losing my job because I could not do it without accommodations. And I didn't know how to ask. And when I did ask, I was seen as just not quite good enough. When I finally did manage to get my final fellowship in community ministry, thanks to what I did with this church and campus ministry, by the way, I suddenly got a scholarship to go to General Assembly. I didn't ask for it, it just showed up. They wanted me at General Assembly. Well, I was getting final fellowship and I really wanted to go, so I said, okay. I went to St. Louis, was getting my final fellowship. I got there and suddenly my name is being mentioned in meetings. It's being mentioned in a book that I didn't even know I was in. And I get my picture on the front page of the St. Louis paper, singing in my dark glasses. And then I realized that I had gotten my scholarship so that I could be, the poster child of disability and how welcoming we are to disabled ministers. It took them 12 years to figure that out, and they got it wrong. And nobody asked me. It wasn't like I was saying, let me do this. We have had a minister who has a far more visible disability. They are required to be in a scooter. They will never walk again. And they were put in the front row when they got preliminary fellowship, but they chose to be there. And every time someone said, we stand for, they would hold up a sign that said, ouch. And it made a huge change. We no longer sing standing on the side of love. We're siding with love now. Because not everybody can stand, and we're leaving them out. Now, there are things that are not quite so necessary. If you don't like being the center of attention, and I know that's hard to believe, but I didn't like it. I was embarrassed. I was angry when that happened. It's one thing for me to be there and be allowed to be in there and get the accommodations I need, and it's another thing to be made a spectacle. So I quit working on accessibility committee after that for a little while. Well, as I had to leave my job at the hospital because of the MS, and I fought it every step of the way, by the way, I started to feel disabled. I started to feel like I had no purpose anymore. There was no reason to keep trying to fight this disease. It had won. And we went into COVID. Now, I know that COVID was not a gift to all of you, but when I was like this then, nobody noticed. You were all like this. You were all hiding from germs. Everybody had on a mask. Everybody stayed 6 feet apart. And we were all online. And I suddenly found out I am able to do this. My 25 years of ministry is not gone. My voice is not gone. It gets a little confused sometimes, but it's not gone. I can do this. I am able to do this. So then I have this amazing sister, and I know she's online, so everybody look at her. Okay. She wrote this article, and it's absolutely amazing, and it's totally true, and it totally makes my life difficult. In the sense that it points out that all of us being online is part of the problem. We've lost, a generation has lost how to talk to each other. They've lost how to connect. And as long as we keep doing it the way we have always been doing it, that will continue. But she has some really good points later on in her article. She says there are ways to get around it. If we practice radical acceptance, no holds barred, no subjects taboo, no fears banished, what is the reality of our situation? Different people involved will likely have differing views. Holding all realities simultaneously is part of the solution. When she said that, I was like, yes. We need to hold the reality that it feels great to be here together, to be able to hug each other, to be able to snicker and stick your elbow into the person next to you when somebody does something silly. But it's also really good to be able to be here online when you can't get here any other way. We have people from all over the world. We average having somewhere between 7 and 25 on a Sunday between Facebook and Zoom. And on Facebook, we have people coming in all week long. They're not live. They're doing it when they have the time, when they're able to get there. That is incredible, the reach that we have made. We are reaching the people in that invisible chair. Those invisible people are here with us all the time. She says, create a vision of a future that is worth living for. I think a future that includes all of us, no matter what our abilities. And letting go of the word disability. We all have disabilities. Some of them you can get funding for if you need it. But once you do that, suddenly you're labeled and you're no longer visible. It's like being a woman over 60. You're invisible now. It's okay. We aren't here thanks to our vision of including everybody and not letting go of the folks we found during COVID and embracing that and bringing them in and making them part of us. That is our great ability. And that's a vision of a future I can live for. So she says a whole lot more, and I refuse to speak for an hour and a half. So what I do want to say is thank you all for making space for me and my abilities. Just keep having a reason to get up on Sunday mornings. Because I get up for you. Otherwise, I would just be doing the crossword puzzles. Ask Bruce. That's all I do, crossword puzzles all the time. So, with these words, I end this rant. But I have to say one more thing first that I forgot to say. Back when I first started doing, this is way back at the beginning of the sermon, when I first started doing accessibility committees, Joan Webster, dear Joan Webster, who I miss every day, snuck in here and put tape on these stairs because I kept tripping over them because I couldn't see them. Nobody else needs to know that, except I never felt more affirmed and more seen than the day I came in and found those tapes on those stairs. Sometimes it's a really little thing. Okay, so these words are by Pema Chadron, and my sister ended her article with this because my sister is brilliant. Obviously, I love my sister. This is from When Things Fall Apart. Things falling apart is a kind of testing and also a kind of healing. We think that the point is to pass the test or to overcome the problem. But the truth is that things don't really get solved. They come together and they fall apart. Then they come together again and fall apart again. It's just like that. The healing comes from letting there be room for all of this to happen. Room for grief, for relief, for misery, for joy. Thank you for being my congregation. I am so blessed. And I am so thankful that I am able to tell you that from this pulpit, even though I have to hang on with both hands so I don't fall over. And now we will do responsive reading, number 468. And Elizabeth is going up here, is going to lead us, and we're going to respond. It's called We Need One Another. And when Elizabeth is ready, I see you all have your books open. She may begin.
Thank you, Cheryl. We need one another when we mourn and would be comforted.
We need one another when we are in trouble and afraid.
We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and in need to be recalled to our best selves again.
We need one another when we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone.
We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs.
We need one another in the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again.
We need one another when we come to die, and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey.
All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. Please join in hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone? Our benediction words come from Unitarian minister and rebel and transcendentalist misfit, Theodore Parker. Be ours a religion which like sunshine goes everywhere, its temple all space, its shrine the good heart, its creed the truth, its ritual works of love, its profession of faith, divine living. May it be so. Blessed be. Ashe and amen. So as you go your ways to have your coffee and a beautiful life, if you are online and want to experience a virtual coffee hour, we have a Facebook group message called UUCW Sunday Morning Worship Regulars. If you want to be part of that, we can have a virtual coffee hour that way. So go in peace and joy, enjoy the sunshine, and I'm going to sit down. Whatever, yeah.
Hi, I'm Lynn Gostila from Side with Love. And I just wanted to say that in the coming weeks, the Worcester City Council is likely to be voting on a new building code for all new construction in the city. And the code is designed to result in construction that is highly energy efficient and to provide for the installation of electric heating and cooling systems. And the goal, of course, is to address climate change by drastically reducing gas emissions caused by our reliance on fossil fuels. So Side with Love is encouraging Worcester residents to contact their city council members in the coming weeks to vote in favor of adopting the new building code. And I have flyers here with information about the building code and with how to contact your city council members, and also with a sample email message. So I will be at coffee hour at the door. If anyone wants to take a flyer as you're walking in. Thank you.
I should also tell you, if you're one of those online people and you're trying to find that group, you have to friend me on Facebook and then I put you on. Okay, now go.